Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy healthy start to this nice Tuesday morning over here. Plenty to discuss today as Bitcoin does get the short-term time frame continuation to the downside that we were looking for in the past 24 hours. Bitcoin does hit the $21,000 region. And so where does that lead us up into today? Well, I suppose that will be the focus of the day. We'll save the higher term time frame stuff for perhaps tomorrow, and we'll make this one nice and short and sweet. So without further ado, let's just jump into it right now. I should probably remind you that I've been doing these very short form updates on Instagram story feature, of which there is a link in the description below. Just kind of an easier and faster way to get out my quick thoughts without a chart in the early morning hours, and also throughout the day as well when it does call for it. Anyways, in this case right here, let's kind of pick up where we left off from yesterday. So yesterday we did define a break of the 382 Fibonacci retracement at 22,200 as very likely to confirm a local high on the higher term timeframes, thus be getting continuation all the way down to the $21,000 region with the bounce along the way at the 0.5 right here, which was 21,600. You can see a few attempts at a bounce and then fade and all the way down. So this is very, very important now for potentially on the way back up later, not in the short term, at least in my opinion. And that would be to say that as long as Bitcoin is below that breakdown point, which is 22,200-ish region, then I would be looking at that as a pivot for the higher term timeframes to, well, flip around biases from bearish to bullish. Until then, short, medium, and higher term timeframes, yes, very likely do trade a little bit lower, perhaps after one more attempt on a bounce at the 618 right here. In fact, there probably is an attempt, a greater attempt than what we've seen thus far at that 618 $21,000 region, or the bottom end of this blue box territory right here, which is basically 20,800-ish region. With that said, let's check on our momentum also just for the moment. We do see that 4-hour BBWP is actually continuing to expand, but is losing a little bit of that expansion acceleration. With that in mind, we do see 4-hour RSI getting into the bearish control zone for the first time in a while. You know, typically your first test into these regions does produce a bit of a bounce. So again, that is why I'm refraining from calling a direct continuation exactly from where Bitcoin is at right now. You know, it can very easily bounce up or at least spend some time going sideways here into the mid, maybe even end of today. And then obviously the 4-hour jewel, we did identify that that one was giving downside signals yesterday. You know, again, we're in kind of critical regions right here. So within the context of this indicator, you know, it's just a little bit, it's more likely to kind of grind out a bit more sideways, maybe try a bit of a bounce attempt. You know, how high can things go? Well, shit, I mean, anything below 22,200 is just irrelevant, really. But even, you know, even maybe coming back up and testing like 21.5, I guess is in the cards, but I wouldn't necessarily have a target on that. Let's go check out stochastic momentum as well. We do see on the short-term timeframes, aka the 4-hour, things are, you know, pretty damn extreme over here. So again, you know, is continuation more likely before at least a try for a bounce? Probably not. You know, short-term timeframes do try probably for a bounce here. Hourly, I believe, is also probably flippy floppy, but doing the same thing. Yep, going to be heading up as long as Bitcoin's above 20,900. So again, at least a little bit of sideways here, I imagine. By hourly, also going to be showing actually downside pressure below about 21,300. But again, these numbers getting very, very close. So, you know, a bit of a grind here, and then probably does try for a bit of a bounce. And then 4-hour also, I forgot to mention, was pivoted at 21,150. If we go over here to the 6-hour will also have the same pivot, 21,200. So we're kind of finding like everything in the same regions. And then once we get to the medium and higher term timeframes, yes, downside momentum still remains. 12-hour time frame showing downside as long as Bitcoin's below 23,500, kind of big, and daily also freshly turning down as long as Bitcoin's below basically the same level as well. And by the way, the 2-day time frame just closed last night on spot price action. That one is now officially suggesting a downside cross coming into the next period of closing as long as Bitcoin's below 22,000 bucks. So 22,200, 22,000, essentially, you know, the area that we outlined earlier. As long as Bitcoin's below there on higher term timeframes, you know, basically any bounce is just that, a bounce before likely continuation lower. Until then, I do want to call this back out over here. If we go over to CME chart, daily does have, or was confirmed as we identified yesterday, hidden bearish divergence. I think that this is also rather profound as well, because this hidden bearish divergence doesn't just correlate to the early June highs, but it also correlates to the May highs, the early May highs, where Bitcoin was trading like closer to 40,000 bucks rather than the June highs where Bitcoin was trading like 30,000 bucks. So, you know, that's kind of a long way to go. Also daily jewel, you know, you do typically expect a bit of at least pullback when you do kind of hit in this autofib right here region. And that's kind of what we're getting right now. What I hope not to see for the Bulaw's sake, which would make me much more bearish for right now, I'm not actually like fully bearish for like a breakdown and continuation on like higher term timeframes. But if we start to get like a dark blue read on this, and especially with like a close over close, that would be concerning for the blue loss, you know. But until then, you know, where are the targeted regions to the downside? Well, let's go back to this chart over here. It's just the one that we've been working off of more or less. And if I take these off, make it nice and easy to read, you know, any sort of a, actually I do think that we defined this early, but a closure below 20,800 on a 4-hour time frame would do it for me, or a daily closure basically below about 21,000 bucks would also do it for me. And then, yeah, I would be looking for a move basically down to, you know, 20,000 bucks even, if you want to be super exact, about 21,100. And then if that does fail, perhaps a wick all the way down to 19,700 or so. Here's the thing though, I do still refrain from calling any sort of like continuation, you know, like a major continuation move here to new lows. That is. The reason why is because the very high term timeframes, that being the 5-day and the weekly, you know, when we check out momentum oscillators over here, it's going to be difficult to really have like another momentous move from this region without a more prolonged sideways consolidation. As you can see right here, the 5-day stochastic momentum is pivoted at 19,200, and the weekly is also pivoted at 20,000 bucks. So keep those numbers in mind. Obviously, we have a long way left to go until we actually close these timeframes, but you know, what I think is probably most likely to happen as of right now is this, which maybe we spoke about yesterday. No, we did not. Or yeah, maybe, well, no, we did speak about it yesterday, but probably something like this, if I had to guess. Like Bitcoin maybe comes down a little bit lower, spikes low into like an earnings or an FOMC or a GDP read. Everyone gets super bearish, and then they realize, oh shit, we all expected that it was going to be bad anyways. And then you see something like that, boom, and then like a real rally gets underway. I still, however, you know, taking things even further, I do still really refrain from calling any sort of macro low here. We do not have any indications, at least from what I look at, to make me think that a macro low is in with a higher probability. I do think at best Bitcoin tries for a move towards like 26,500 bucks, for the same reasons that we've been postulating over the past like couple weeks videos. But even those signals, like they played out a pretty fucking good amount of what their average was anyways. I won't bring them up on this particular video, but you know, when you have a signal that is suggesting like a 50% move and you play up like 45%, for example, then that's close enough as far as I'm concerned. Or in this case, I think we had a signal for 37.5%. We played up like 30, basically 30%, you know, that's pretty fucking close in this case. Again, there is some variance in these. So ultimately, I think this is kind of best case scenario for blue laws right here. If you just want a nice little squiggle and if we're on the short-term time frames over here, you know, bit of grind sideways, maybe another attempt for a bounce, but anything below 22,200, just another lower high before getting ready for, you know, a move lower to that low $20,000 region, maybe even mid-19s. But yeah, I think that will do it for today. I forgot to mention, however, here would be, oh my God, how did I forget this one, man? All right, global open interest. So we are seeing it reset once again. We identified this the past couple days here, you know, and I do look for this to base out yet again somewhere around like mid 7 billions. If you see a 7.5 or even a 7 billion read on this, and Bitcoin simultaneously gets down to like, let's say like somewhere between like 19.5 to 20,000 bucks, that'd be a really good indication that we probably do see a much greater bounce occur from that region. I actually really, really like this indicator for macro moves in this case. And then the funny rates, don't really have too much to be speaking about right there. Might as well be zero, but right now ever so slightly negative. So, you know, a little bit of sideways is okay. Maybe an attempt at a bounce, but beware of that 22,200-ish region. You know, of course, that also implies that if Bitcoin does get back above 22,200, then I guess I look at this as actually a bear trap right here, and very likely another targeted region back up to 23.5 to 24, and probably continues from there. That would look really fucking good as well. But for right now, bit of sideways. Probably some more downside, at least in my opinion. So, yeah, I think it's a good place to leave that one off. That's the good place to leave that one off. Want to be wishing you well. Want to be wishing the best. Take care. Much love, and see you hopefully soon.